My wife told me she was going on a business trip, but her coworker's smile told a different story. One that wasn't honest, that I in that moment. The truth she'd been hiding would destroy everything I thought I knew. She stood in the doorway with a practiced casualness, packing a small bag for a trip she insisted would be all business and no chaos. The casual cadence of her words should have reassured me, but the sparkle in her coworker's smile, as we said our goodbyes, sent a ripple of unease through the room. I watched the luggage wheels roll away, the streetlights stitching long shadows across the floor, and felt my certainty loosen. The lie wasn't in the trip itself. It was in the certainty that this trip would keep us safe from the truth she hid. There's a twist in the story that no one knows about, so stay in the story. Weeks later, I found myself scrolling through messages she'd claimed were work emails only. The words were innocent at first, but the cadence shifted when the coworker's name popped up, a name that carried a familiar warmth, a sly intimacy that felt almost conspiratorial. Their conversations hummed with coded undertones, a language built on inside jokes and unshared plans. The more I read, the more I realized that the trip was a veil, a cover story for something far more dangerous, something that could unravel the quiet life we'd built together. I began to notice the smallest tells, the way she paused before mentioning a project, the way her eyes slid past mine when she spoke of travel, the way a ring on her finger felt colder than it used to. It wasn't a single betrayal, but a pattern, a mosaic of moments where truth bent away from us, where the surface kept smiling while the core stiffened with fear. The coworker's smile in particular lingered in my mind, a beacon lighting up a path I hadn't wanted to walk, but couldn't pretend wasn't there. Conversations at home shifted from routine to reconnaissance. I asked open-ended questions and watched for micro-reactions, the way her jaw tightened or her breath hitched when the subject touched the edge of taboo. She parried with charm, offering excuses that sounded plausible to a listener who wanted to believe. But every time she said the words business trip, I heard a different word under the syllables. Risk, risk, risk. The truth she guarded wasn't about travel plans. It was about someone else's stake in our lives, a stake I hadn't agreed to. One evening, a simple kitchen conversation spiraled into revelation. A shared memory we'd both assumed buried rose to the surface, a memory that connected the coworker to a decision we'd never discussed aloud. The smile that had seemed harmless now carried the weight of a secret agreement, and with it, a chill that went beyond infidelity, beyond broken vows. If trust is a circle, hers had been widening behind my back, inviting someone else inside, while leaving me on the outer edge, listening to the echo of a truth I wasn't ready to hear. I confronted the idea of confrontation itself, weighing the cost of digging deeper versus the comfort of remaining in the known. Yet every day without honesty carved away at the foundation we'd built. The coworker's smile wasn't just flirtation, it was a treaty, a tacit pact to keep something crucial hidden. And hiding, I learned, invites corrosion, slow, patient, unforgiving. The trip hadn't merely been a misdirection. It was a signal flare, a warning that an entire chapter of our life could be rewritten by someone else's desire. In the quiet between work calls and late-night emails, I mapped the possible futures. One future kept us intact but hollow, a pale imitation of the love we claimed to share. Another risked breaking us completely, forcing us to decide what remains when trust dissolves. The coworker's smile lingered in the margins of every plan, a reminder that the truth isn't merely what's reported, it's what's concealed in plain sight. I knew I couldn't ignore it forever, even if the cost of discovery frightened me more than the idea of losing what we already had. So I chose a careful path. Present questions, demand clarity, protect what mattered, and prepare for the consequences. The truth wouldn't undo us by itself, but would reveal what we'd become if we didn't face it. I spoke to her with a steady voice, outlining the stakes and the boundaries that would govern our future, whether together or apart. The coworker's smile had already decided nothing. It merely reflected the choices we hid from ourselves. It was time to bring those choices into the light, where they could either heal or harden into a wall. Weeks turned into a tense season of conversation, confession, and recalibration. We rewrote how we communicated, insisted on transparency, and rebuilt trust piece by piece with careful, deliberate acts. The tension didn't disappear, but it shifted from a fear of discovery to a commitment to accountability. At the center stood a simple truth. Love isn't a shield from risk. It's a framework for facing it together. The coworker's smile still haunted the edges of our days, but it no longer dictated our boundaries or our destiny. Today, the truth remains painful, but it's also a catalyst. The story isn't about the trip or the smile alone. It's about choosing authenticity over comfort, and about redefining faithfulness in a world where whispers can sound like promises. The person who helped unlock the truth isn't an enemy. They're a mirror showing what we must become to protect what we hold dear. The past cannot be erased, but the future can be rebuilt with honesty as its cornerstone. Lock candle.